Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're diving deep this time into the world of industry-standard database benchmarks. You know those tests that really push databases to their limits? Show us what they can handle. Now, we know you're already familiar with relational databases, but picture this. You're given the task of moving a massive data warehouse to the cloud. How can you be absolutely sure it'll perform just as well, or even better, in its new environment? Or maybe you're comparing different database vendors before you make a big purchase. How do you make a fair and accurate comparison?
Well, that's where these industry standard benchmarks come in. They're like standardized tests for databases. Level the playing field by letting us compare different systems, different versions, even configurations, all based on objective data.
So it's not just about taking the vendor's word for it, it's about seeing the evidence.
Exactly. It's like checking out consumer reports before buying a car. You want to see how it performs in independent tests, not just what the salesperson tells you.
That makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about some of the big names in database benchmarks. What are some of the most popular ones out there?
The most widely used and recognized ones come from the Transaction Processing Performance Council, or TPC.
Okay, I've heard of TPC. What makes their benchmarks so special?
TPC benchmarks are known for their testing. Their methodologies are very rigorous, and they have a strict auditing process. They really want to ensure that the results are accurate and that they haven't been manipulated.
So it's like having an independent referee to ensure a fair contest.
Exactly. The TPC also insists on full transparency, meaning vendors have to disclose their system configurations and their testing parameters. This allows for apples-to-apples comparisons between different systems.
I see. That level of transparency and rigor is crucial, especially when you're making important decisions based on those results. Now, I know that TPC has a whole suite of benchmarks. Which ones are considered the heavy hitters?
Some of the most widely used include TPC-C, TPC-E, TPC-H, and TPC-DS. Each of them focuses on a different type of workload and performance metric.
Okay, let's break those down. Starting with TPC-C, what is that all about?
TPC-C is all about simulating a demanding online transaction processing environment. Think of it like a really busy e-commerce site, handling orders, managing inventory, processing payments.
So it's basically testing how well a database can handle the stress of a high-volume, fast-paced environment.
Precisely. It measures how many transactions the database can process per minute, while still meeting strict response time requirements.
That sounds like a critical test for any business that relies on quick and reliable online transactions. Now, what about TPC-E? How does that differ from TPC-C?
TPC-E is more modern and more complex. It's a more complex take on the OLTP benchmark. It simulates a brokerage firm with tasks like trading, account management, and market data feeds.
So TPC-C is like testing an online store. TPC-E is more like simulating a high-stakes financial environment.
Exactly. TPC-E reflects the demands of today's sophisticated financial systems with their complex transactions and real-time data processing needs.
That makes sense. Now, we also have TPC-H and TPC-DS. Are those also focused on transaction processing?
No. TPC-H and TPC-DS are geared towards a different type of workload, decision support systems.
So instead of lots of small, fast transactions, these benchmarks are about handling complex queries against massive data sets.
Precisely. Think of a company analyzing sales trends, customer behavior, or supply chain performance. They need a database that can process complex queries efficiently against huge amounts of data.
So TPC-H and TPC-DS are like stress tests for data warehouse.
Oh, got it. TPC-H is for very large data warehouses, while TPC-DS is designed for truly massive data warehouses, handling queries against petabytes of data.
Wow, that's a lot of data. We've covered quite a bit about these well-known TPC benchmarks, but are there any other benchmarks out there that are worth knowing about, perhaps some lesser-known ones?
Absolutely. While TPC benchmarks are widely recognized, there are other benchmarks out there, including a couple of interesting ones from TPC itself, TPC-DI, and TPC-VMS.
Okay, those names are new to me.
Yeah.
What makes them so interesting? What kinds of situations would they be useful for?
Well, TPC-DI focuses on the performance of database loading and transformation processes. It's especially relevant for data warehouses and ETL operations, where large volumes of data need to be loaded, cleaned, and transformed efficiently.
So if you're building a data warehouse and you need to evaluate how quickly different databases can handle that initial data intake and processing, TPC-DI would be the benchmark to look at.
Exactly. Now, TPC-VMS is a bit unique because it evaluates the performance of a virtualized database environment.
That's very relevant today, with so many businesses moving their databases to the cloud.
Absolutely. TPC-VMS takes into account factors like hypervisor overhead and resource sharing, giving you insights into how virtualization might impact database performance.
This is all incredibly useful information. Before we move on, though, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier. You talked about how TPC benchmarks are known for their objectivity. Could you elaborate a bit more on what makes them stand out in that regard?
Sure, unlike some benchmarks, that might be developed in-house or by specific vendors. TPC benchmarks are designed to be vendor neutral.
So there's no room for bias or favoritism.
Exactly. The TPC has a very detailed specification for each benchmark, outlining everything from the database schema to the types of transactions or queries that need to be run. This ensures that everyone is playing by the same rules.
That makes a lot of sense. But how do they actually prevent vendors from, let's say, tweaking their systems to get artificially high scores?
That's where the auditing process comes in. After a vendor runs a benchmark and publishes their results, the TPC can send independent auditors to verify those results. They'll scrutinize the entire setup to make sure everything was done according to the specification.
So it's not enough to just claim a great score. You have to be able to back it up with verifiable proof.
Precisely. And that level of scrutiny is what gives TPC benchmarks such a high level of credibility. They are the gold standard for database performance evaluation.
This has been incredibly insightful. We've learned so much about TPC benchmarks and why they matter. In the next part of our deep dive, we'll delve deeper into some specific benchmarks and how they're used in real-world scenarios.
Don't miss it. We'll uncover even more secrets about the world of industry-standard database benchmarks. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to The Deep Dive for more deep dives into the world of data. Welcome back to The Deep Dive. We're in the thick of it now, exploring industry-standard database benchmarks.
Yeah, we've laid some great groundwork, understanding why these benchmarks are so important. Now I'm really curious to dive deeper into some specific examples and see how they play out in the real world. Where should we start?
Let's revisit TPC-C, that benchmark simulating a high-pressure e-commerce environment. Imagine hundreds of customers placing orders, updating accounts, checking inventory, all happening at the same time. That's what TPC-C throws at a database.
So it's a real test of how a database handles constant change and demands for up-to-the-second data. That sounds incredibly relevant to any business operating online.
Absolutely. And the way TPC-C measures this is fascinating. It doesn't just look at how many transactions the database can process, but also how quickly it responds to each one. Think about it. No customer wants to wait ages for their order to go through or the payment to be confirmed.
That's so true. In today's world, speed and responsiveness are everything. So how does TPC-C actually simulate this kind of frantic online activity? Does it create fake customers and orders?
It's even more sophisticated than that. TPC-C uses a very specific data model designed to mirror the complexities of a real-world order processing system. It simulates warehouses, districts, customers, orders, items, the whole works.
So it's not just about throwing random data at the database. It's about creating a realistic scenario that truly reflects the challenges businesses face.
Exactly. And within the simulated environment, TPC-C runs 5 key types of transactions, each designed to stress the database in different ways.
5 different ways to make the database sweat. Tell me more about these transaction types.
One is new order, which simulates a customer placing an order. This involves a whole chain reaction of checks and updates, verifying inventory, reserving stock, creating order records, and so on. It's a real test of the database's ability to handle complex, multi-step processes quickly and accurately.
It's like a domino effect of actions happening behind the scenes.
Yeah.
All triggered by that single customer, clicking buy now.
Precisely. Then there's the payment transaction, where a customer makes a payment against an existing order. This involves updating account balances, payment histories, the kind of financial actions that need to be handled with absolute precision.
Accuracy is key, but speed also matters here.
Right.
Imagine a long queue of customers waiting for their payments to go through.
Exactly. TPC-C takes all of that into account. It's not just about processing the transaction, but doing so in a way that meets real-world expectations for responsiveness. Then we have order status, where a customer checks on their order. This might seem simple, but if you have thousands of customers simultaneously checking their order status, that can put a significant load on the database.
So it's testing how well the database handles those sudden spikes in demand for information.
Right. And then there's delivery, which simulates the process of shipping out orders. This involves batch processing, where multiple orders are grouped and shipped together.
So it's about efficiency, making sure the database can handle those behind-the-scenes tasks that keep everything running smoothly.
Precisely. And finally, we have stock level, which checks inventory levels. and identifies items that need to be restocked. This involves complex queries and calculations, testing how well the database can analyze large data sets and extract meaningful insights.
So it's not just about processing transactions quickly. It's about providing the business with valuable information to make informed decisions.
You've got it. And all of these transactions are run concurrently at varying rates, creating a very realistic simulation of a high-pressure e-commerce environment.
This is fascinating. It really highlights how much thought and detail goes into designing these benchmarks to accurately reflect real-world scenarios. Now, we've talked about TPC-C in detail, but I know there's another benchmark focused on online transaction processing, TPC-E. How does that one compare?
TPC-E, as we mentioned earlier, simulates a brokerage firm. Imagine the pressure of a stock trading floor, orders coming in, prices fluctuating, accounts being updated in real time. That's the world TPC-E replicates.
It sounds even more intense than TPC-C. What kinds of tasks does TPC-E throw at the database?
TPC-E simulates things like trading stocks, managing customer accounts, processing market data feeds, activities that require incredibly fast processing, and rock-solid reliability. Any delay or error could have significant financial consequences.
So the stakes are incredibly high in this environment. How does TPC-E measure performance under these conditions?
Similar to TPC-C, TPC-E looks at transactions per minute, but it also considers factors like response time and data integrity. It's a very comprehensive benchmark that goes beyond just raw speed to evaluate how well a database can handle the complexities and risks of a financial trading environment.
This is incredibly insightful. We've explored the intricacies of TPC-C and TPC-E, benchmarks designed to push the limits of online transaction processing. But there's another side to the world of databases, those massive data warehouses designed for complex analysis and reporting.
You're right, and that's where benchmarks like TPC-H and TPC-DS come into play. These are the heavyweights of the data warehousing world, testing a database's ability to handle truly massive data sets and complex queries.
All right, let's shift gears and explore those benchmarks next. I'm eager to see how they differ from the transaction-focused ones we discussed so far. We've spent the last two parts of our deep dive exploring these online transaction processing benchmarks, the ones that assess how well databases handle lots of small, fast-paced tasks. Now let's switch gears a bit and delve into the realm of data warehousing benchmarks. These are all about handling massive data sets and complex queries that businesses use to gain insights and make informed decisions.
That's right. We're moving from the world of split-second transactions to the realm of deep analysis, where queries can take minutes or even hours to run. And that's where TPC-H and TPC-DS come in. These are the benchmarks designed to test a database's ability to handle those heavy analytical workloads.
So we're talking about the kind of queries that might involve analyzing years of sales data, understanding customer behavior patterns, or optimizing supply chains.
Exactly. Think about a company trying to identify its most profitable customer segments or predict future demand for its products. Those are the kinds of insights that require analyzing massive amounts of data, often stored in data warehouses that can hold terabytes or even petabytes of information.
It's mind-boggling to think about the sheer volume of data involved. So how do TPC-H and TPC-DS simulate these massive data warehouses and the complex queries that run against them?
Both benchmarks use a data model that closely resembles a real-world data warehouse. They simulate tables for things like customers, products, orders, suppliers, all the data points that a company might track and analyze.
So it's not just about generating random data, it's about creating a structure that reflects the way businesses actually organize and store their information.
Precisely. And within this realistic data model, TPC-H and TPC-DS define a set of complex SQL queries that are designed to challenge the database's query optimizer and its ability to handle large data sets.
I'm curious about these queries. What makes them so complex? What kind of tasks do they simulate?
These queries go beyond simple lookups. They often involve joining data from multiple tables, aggregating data to calculate sums or averages, filtering data based on complex criteria, and sorting results. They're designed to simulate the kind of analytical queries that data analysts and business intelligence teams run on a regular basis.
So they're not just testing how quickly the database can retrieve a single piece of information. They're testing how efficiently it can process and analyze large amounts of interconnected data.
You got it. And both TPC-H and TPC-DS have a specific set of queries, each designed to stress the database in different ways. Some queries might focus on aggregations, while others might involve complex joins or subqueries.
It sounds like a real test of the database's analytical muscle. Now, you mentioned that both TPC-H and TPC-DS are data warehousing benchmarks. But is there a difference between the two?
There is. TPC-H is considered the more established benchmark, simulating a decision support system for a large company. It uses a data model that's been around for a while and includes a set of 22 complex queries. TPC-DS, on the other hand, is a more recent benchmark, designed to reflect the growing complexity and scale of modern data warehouses.
So TPC-DS is like TPC-H on steroids.
You could say that. TPC-DS uses a larger and more complex data model, with tables containing terabytes or even petabytes of data. And its queries are designed to be even more challenging, pushing the limits of database performance.
It sounds like TPC-DS is the ultimate test for any database claiming to handle big data analytics.
It's definitely a benchmark that separates the contenders from the pretenders. In the world of data warehousing,
this deep dive into industry-standard database benchmarks has been incredibly insightful. We've journeyed from the high-pressure world of online transaction processing to the vast landscapes of data warehousing. And we've learned how these benchmarks play a crucial role in evaluating and selecting the right database for the job, whether you're building an e-commerce platform or a massive data warehouse. Understanding these benchmarks can empower you to make informed decisions and get the most out of your database systems.
Absolutely. And remember, these benchmarks are constantly evolving to reflect the changing demands of the data world. New benchmarks emerge, existing ones are updated, and the quest for faster, more efficient data processing continues. So stay curious, keep learning, and keep diving deep into the world of data.
That's great advice. And to our listeners, if you enjoy this deep dive into database benchmarks, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to The Deep Dive for more explorations into the fascinating world of technology and data. Until next time, happy diving.